It's time to learn how to carry speed and flow through technical gap features. Like this trail I'm about to show you, it goes from little fast speed gaps into poppier jumps, and you really have to carry your speed from top to bottom really well in order to clear any of it. And that's a lot different than just hitting a gap jump and feeling comfortable. So once you start getting comfortable on gap jumps and bigger lines like that, you really want to step up your skills and work on the technical side of pumping and flowing, really pushing into the ground and carrying speed as best as you can. I'm going to go through this line for you, which features about 5 or 6 different hits, and I'm going to show you what I do on each one of those individual hits so you can really break it down yourself and learn what exactly I'm doing. That'll help everything make a lot more sense. Let's jump right into it and start off with this speed gap right at the top here. The first gap on this line is a long and low. That means it's a very low takeoff and the gap is quite long considering how small the takeoff is. With gaps like this, you need as much speed as possible in general to get over them with a good flow. What also makes this a bit difficult is the run-in is quite technical and slow. It's pretty chunky and there's not a nice flat section leading you into it. What I do for a section like this is I get as much speed as I can prior to the really technical bit, and then once I'm in the pumpy, tight section, I really want to ride it like a pump track. So I'm really compressing and speed tucking over those rolly bits, and then as I get into the takeoff, I want to pump and then pop the second I get off the takeoff. That bit of pump will give me a bit more float in the air, and it won't kill my speed, so I can still stay nice and low, stay a little bit leaned back. And the second I hit that landing, I'm pushing into the landing zone and then pumping through for the next feature. The reason I'm pumping through the next feature is because this trail includes a berm in between this and the next gap features, and that berm is very low speed and not very fast to hit. So I want to get as much speed as I can into it. And when I'm in the corner, what I want to do is I really want to pump through the berm by pushing my feet into the ground as hard as I can, like I'm going through a pump track, and really railing a corner as fast as possible, leaning that inside shoulder down and flowing through while setting up for the next feature. Now the next feature is kind of a spread out set of rollers that aren't very steep, and they don't help you carry your speed that well, but they work a lot better than having like a really tight gap jump, which is why I built that. This is a pretty common thing that you'll see in trail building when you're going through a flat section. People will just put in rollers to help them get through a really slow section like this. And the best way to approach these type of rollers is to really like kind of pre-pull up before you get into them and pump down hard when you're in between them, especially spread out ones like this, because you have the room for it. And then when you get up into that second corner, you kind of almost want to do the same movement and then really push through and get ready for that next hit, because on this trail, the next hit is your first real step down gap jump. It's easier to clear than it looks. That is very common with step down jumps. They can have quite a long gap and look very difficult to clear, but it's a little easier than you would expect. With this one, that is the same case. It looks nearly impossible to clear when you come into it, especially considering you don't have a ton of speed coming into it. But then once you pop up and over it, you just make the landing. And the key to clearing this jump is to really get that pre-hop motion down that I've been talking about, like what I did on the very first hit on the trail. So I want to come in and I almost want to bunny hop off the lip, and then as I'm popping, I'm leaning back and getting ready to push into that landing the second I land, because I want to be landing with lots of nice fast flow. Right after the step down is a step up that's less than 2 bike lengths apart from each other. That is super tight, and that is the final jump on this flat section of trail. Now what makes it really difficult and technical is you don't really have any room to pedal or fully brake, so you have to have an immediate reaction, and you almost have to prepare for this jump when you're about to land the step down. I'm going to hit my brakes a little bit but not lock them up because I don't want to skid or anything, and I want to really scrub my speed because this is very easy to clear. I just take my scrubbing basics like leaning into the takeoff, leaning back a bit, really pushing into that jump and getting my body back a bit in the air so I'm preparing for a nice low fast landing. All right, let's take a look at this whole section from the top to bottom. I'm coming in, it's pretty flat and slow, so I really want to pump through here, get as much speed as I can, then pump, push through, pump, pump, a little pre-hop and pop, and then brake track and scrub, and that's it. That's how it flows together. Happens really fast. Now that you've seen this line ridden from top to bottom, I really want you to think about each individual hit and what I did on them to make my speed work as nicely as possible, whether it was scrub my speed to slow down or to pop to get up and over something and really put in those pre-hop and pumping movements. Now I want you to get out there and practice on a line similar to this. Even if you don't have something exactly like this at home, try to find a section of trail where there's 2 or more gap features in a row that aren't necessarily perfectly consistent. So you really have to apply these skills to get through it. And then I want you to keep that over and over and stay on that until you can do it as smooth as possible. Get out there, good luck, and yeah, just keep trying that until the flow feels really nice.